40 years old, and I've never seen a political situation like we see today. And specifically, I'm speaking of the polarization, and I'll even say hatred towards Donald Trump and people who support Donald Trump. I have this MAGA hat, and I feel subconscious about it sometimes because I feel like I have to be careful where I wear it, because I've been places and people actually kind of like verbally attack me for wearing it. I didn't see this with if somebody had like a Yes We Can hat for Obama, or a George Bush the Elder hat, or a George W. Bush hat. With Bill Clinton, there were people who didn't like Bill Clinton. There were people who didn't like George Bush. There were people who didn't like Obama and thought that he's a CIA plant from Kenya to like destroy our Constitution. There's all sorts of beliefs, and it's kind of like they up the ante every time. And now with Trump, it's just like off the chain. I specifically think it's because the reason why there's all this anti-Trump hatred is because the media riled people up, got people to believe this. And I think this is because Donald Trump wasn't a politician. He wasn't the corporation's choice or the people who run things, the deep state's choice. He's literally contra deep state, and they're doing everything they can to stop him because he's not controlled by the powers that be, by the globalists. And I wish people that have hatred towards Trump and towards the supporters would realize that it's I feel like they're doing the bidding of the globalists. I feel like they're being the useful idiots of the globalists, and it's really sad to see. When I was majoring in agricultural business at this university here in Colorado, I felt comfortable wearing the MAGA hat because that culture is more has more love, affinity towards Donald Trump. So I changed my major to computer science, and I'm a little bit more careful when I wear this because that's a little bit dominated by liberalism and leftism. Although there are a lot of right-wing or Republican people in computer science, we just have to be very careful. We have to be very low pro. And they accuse Donald Trump of like fascism. The thing is, the fascists are not the ones that have to like walk around hiding and being careful. We're walking around hiding from the fascists, from the fascist ideology. A lot of people screaming fascism don't really understand what fascism entailed, and the type of government control over everything, and the lack of freedom of speech and freedom of thought that the left has these days. That's the fascism. And it's just like Ronald Reagan said, if fascism ever comes to the United States, it'll be under the guise of liberalism. It's disgusting to see. They're walking around feeling so bold to just call everybody fascist and racist and homophobic and xenophobic, and all these accusations, calling people fascist without realizing that they have all the symptoms of fascism. There's a speech, you can find it on YouTube, by a lady named Kitty Warman. She was an Austrian. In her youth, that's when Hitler took over, and she saw what happened in Nazi Germany. And it seems like only half the story is being told in order to Same thing with only half the story is being told in order to make Republicans seem like they're the ones that are going to be fascist. Just like only half the story is being told about the Democratic Party, that they were the ones that owned the slaves. They were the ones that had Jim Crow South. They were the ones that were trying to stop the school integration, saying segregation yesterday, segregation today, and segregation forever. They only want, and just like all the liberal and leftist arguments, they only want half the information given out, because as soon as you have all the information, you're going to be more freedom-based, you're going to be more quote-unquote right-wing. And remember what Reagan said also, that forget about the left and right, there's only an up or down. Up towards freedom and the dream of having freedom without this oppression from government. So there's up and there's down, and down would be all the totalitarianism, all the fascism, socialism, government control. If we want to create a responsible public and citizenry, you're gonna want freedom, because with freedom comes responsibility. And when you take that freedom away, you take the responsibility away, and it's just the degeneration of our ethics, of our ability to do things ourselves, of our initiative. So I just encourage people to understand who really doesn't like Trump. What is the source of this? And it's because he's not being controlled by the elite. He's not being controlled by the moneyed interests. He's not being controlled by the globalists. That's what we always wanted. A president who didn't have to do what other people said so he could do what we wanted. So I encourage you to reconsider.